79. B. Promoter. A pen is the most dangerous tool. It is sharper than a sword, more terrible than a stick or a rod. A pen can be called the tongue of the heart. With the help of a pen, wrong practices, prejudices, blind faith, inanimateness, low mentality and narrowness can be driven out, and a great mental and physical power can be awaked. Subject matter and purpose of a writing should be specific, clear, accurate, neutral, short, properly explained. Its presentation should be simple and acceptable to the readers. The first and foremost purpose of a writer is to communicate with the readers through his writings. And for an effective communication, the language should be reliance without unnecessary words and straightforward. The great task of a writer and artist is to reflect all the complicated and important social problems with a devoted trust. A writer only presents a matter with the material from the language of the prevailing society and civilization. Only the great writers can write about a complicated matter straightforwardly in simple language and in short. One cannot write something extraordinary if he is possessing only a pen in his hand and have some education. He should have an extraordinary brain. Writers don't believe whatever they hear and read, but believes what they see and consider to be true. Even the renowned writers also cannot remain free from the influence of his previous writers, but at a stage, his own creative power come out. A writer is such a lucky or unlucky man who can understand the characters of human being better than psychoanalyst or a detective. He who writes about himself and regarding the matters of his contemporary period is the only person who writes for all. Truth is above all to literature. When a conflict arises between truth and national ideology or religion, literature will take the side of truth without any hesitation. Restriction should not be imposed to a writer, he should be encouraged. A writer may be disheartened if he is under much pressure. Life of a writer can never be like that of an ordinary man. They are never like common people. They are naturally too sensitive, many thoughts keep on moving in the kingdom of their imagination. The lamp of literature burns with the fuel of writer. A writer is the best judge of his writing. A poet or a writer can never wander within a specific limitation. The responsibility of saving a nation from the deterioration of morals and mentality lies with the writers and the intellectuals. To know about any subject and to make it acceptable to the readers are not the same. A writer cannot express himself fully if he is not daring. Dareness means to feel free. A writer is proved to be worthy if his writing is equally acceptable to the readers after 50 years of its writing. But a prompt praise by the readers, no doubt encourages a writer. A writer must have some encouragement for his writing. With mere genius one cannot be a writer, one must be there behind a book. The profession of writing is like that of life insurance. If somebody engages himself in writing with devoutness, he may get benefit out of it even after his death. Writing is an innocent profession and a writer remains free from all misdeeds. Continue austere endeavor, practice and exercise, you will surely be a writer. You are to depend on your previous writers for proper words and way of expression. A powerful writer creates new words and ways of expression. In fact, a writer creates decent language by his austere endeavor. If you want to be a writer, you are to be an apprentice first. Observe, feel with your heart and then write. A singer becomes successful by the arrangement of words and writer is successful by the powerful words. A poet avoids long words and applies new words from the stock of uncommon words. Makes a prosody for the readers after much thought. The great poets and writers don't explain much. Small birds tweet much. Many poets have been recognized after their death. Surely, they have opened our eyes although they have closed their ones. It is tough to express clearly what one wants to say. Something can be told and something cannot be, yet a decent expression to be made. This is the job of a poet. A good poet is an artist of souls. Nobody can be a great poet till becomes a full-fledged philosopher. A man's sincerity and depth of his observation make him a poet. Mere nice prosodies don't make a poem, but it should give some moral teaching. A great poem presents the views and imaginations of mankind clearly and attractively. A poetry expresses more by less words. The best barometers of a civilization are its poets, Literatures and journalists. Like the route of a river, way of expression cannot be directed. Only the time determines the way of expression. The way and style of expression cannot be regulated by a particular regulation. As such, writings of different writers should have a clear difference. This difference depends on the education, family background and surrounding of a writer. In a nutshell, expression should be easy, simple, and its style should be natural, decent and sweet. An expression should be understandable to all. A foreign language may serve our practical purposes, but we can't express our emotions fully by it. International language is helpful for exchange of views, thoughts and culture. We should acquire knowledge on foreign languages to enrich our one. A language expresses the man's feelings, which is an essential part of human culture. A customary language is not sufficient for discussing about the problems of metaphysics. Philosophical ideologies rub up materialistic ideas like a bottle of wine. Feelings cannot be distributed in a language as the media of distributing ideas. Intellect is developed through reading of books. But the books are not sufficient for spiritual development. A language comes to the tip of a pen from the mouth of a man. Not from the tip of a pen to the mouth of a man. The best success of a man is to be able to keep his language under his control. Media of expression of surprise is language. Without language, interpersonal hearty relations between men would have been too limited. Language has been introduced with a view to interpersonal unity through communication. Language is the dress of thought. Language of music is the international language. Beckoning is the primary language of mankind. A language, symbol or word expresses an object or a matter. A pictorial language expresses a matter by a picture. A proverb compares a matter with a previous experience or an idea, and a symbolic language gives a meaning to a matter, translating some signs. A written language is nothing but the later stage of a verbal language. A written language can be expressed in different ways, which expresses different meaning in different times and situations. The reaction of the flourishment of a language is the repetition and expansion of addition of visible and exciting words. The old word is connotative to verb and formed of the imitation sound. The verb or action words are formed before the noun. The language and thought of men derive from the social concern. Thought is the creation of soundless word. There are three means of expression of feelings, those are written, verbal and symbol. Signs are direct reveal of object identities as experienced and knowable. Thoughts are the previous stage of a gestures, symbols and language. Language and signal are complementary to each other. A written language comes step by step from symbolic language, pictorial language, pictorial alphabets and sound-based pictorial alphabets. The Egyptians and the Spanish at first jointly presented 16 alphabets to the human civilization. Language is one kind of arithmetic of logic, which accepts and rejects its requisites as required bases and thus makes the world meaningful. Language is an important factor behind the development of science, and words are only the composites of a language. Alphabet is the doorway to the development of human civilization. It is the means of expressing men's wants and demands. Alphabets have reserved the inventions of thousands of years. Alphabets hold and carry geography, science, history, tradition, literature and culture. Alphabet is the communicating nerve of the past, the present and the future. Literature creates a mental thirst for beauty, philosophy creates fear from death, and sports bring the pleasure of a good health, which is the key to heaven. A short story is not short but fine, and a fine intellect is required to understand it. Literature is the composition of thoughts, language, prosody, outward set-up composition of words, composition of sentences, techniques and instances. The only purpose of literature is welfare of human being and to make them conscious. Literature is the best way of keeping mind fresh, lively, active and acceptable. The purpose of literature is to give others pleasure, but it is not so easy to accept this pleasure. Education and help of a scholar are needed. Art and literature are the foods of souls. A deep tranquility is there to pass life within the environment of arts and literature. Literature is such a perfume which encourages a man with a sound mentality. The main theme of literature is to create communication and amity between people. The main idea of literature is to communicate human minds with his place, time and mind. Literature has come to make a mental communication of all human beings with all the countries and all the periods. For a real literature, nothing is considered to be filthy. Even extreme obscene words are also excusable for that. There are great corrupted roles are there in literature, and great arts collected their basic ideas from corruption. Everything depends on the consequences of the different characters, their mental states, surrounding situation, interpersonal conflicts, social status and highness or lowness of the viewpoint of the writer. Besides that, there is always some difference in reading and realization of a literature. Literature is developed by acceptance by the readers, their realizations, practice of literature, its patronization and exercise. We should make our country civilized and developed by writing literature in our mother tongue and regarding the defects of our social and government systems. To develop our national literature, we should study the great literatures of the world. To encourage and inspire a sleeping and dying nation, first of all, its national literature should be developed. Literature is the reflection of the lives and mentalities of a country and nation. Literature is created to lessen the burdens of the lives of the people, to give them pleasure, to relieve them from their sorrows, pains, sins, frustrations and dark future. Literature and culture are the mirrors of a country. A literature expresses a man's feelings, convert imagination into language, conveys a personal idea to the people of the world and preserves a momentary idea for long. No literature of any country does not become universal. Like all the creations of the world, it born, rise and has destructions. It has not other stand except in the mind of its readers, it takes shelter in human thoughts, all its values are given by human minds only. At the same time, human thoughts cannot remain static at one place, it is changing, so literature must bring some change in it in accordance with the taste of human mentalities. People pays a high value for something at a time, but they do not pay half of the same at a later period. Literature is created out of philosophy, science, religion, liking and disliking and mental charms of human beings. In all other subjects, the part of human mentally is found, but it is fully focused in literature only. The literature should aim at peace and should proceed through the path of knowledge. And it will be like the invasion of the Mount Everest. A book is the symbol of knowledge as well as pleasure. Human being is coming and going since long, nobody could leave back their reputation, status, wealth or power. But they could preserve their endeavors, hopes and frustrations in the books. Books are successful but the lives are not. Life is not regulated by books, all right, but books are required to understand life and to get rid of the limitations of the habits. Wise people follow the books and others praise it only. Books are the guides to lead a nation to the right path. There is only one way to make good citizens in a country, that is well-written, creative and thoughtful books. Hungry people should follow books, it is a very effective tool for them. A book is a part of faith, a book gives knowledge to human society to save its civilization, so a book is the saver of civilization. We collect pleasure when we collect books. Collect fully superior 50 books and those will be your lifelong partners. Read the books for which your interest is there. You should take taste of some books, you are to swallow some of them and some of them are to be chewed and digested. Sense of prestige does not grow within a man who does not read a book. 3 kinds of partners are required in the life: men, women and books. A house without books can be compared with a body without a soul. Books are the brainchild. Readers write books nicely and critics write it clearly. Books are the best relatives with whom never a quarrel occurs or a strenuous relation grown. He who can make the habit of reading books can less much of his woes of life. A book is a good companion with whom one can speak. You should purchase a book if it is worthy of reading. That is the best book which starts with expectation and ends with profit. Everybody should read books up to his choice. Because if you read a book on compulsion and without any interest of learning, it will bring very less result. He is the most foolish who does not read a good book which is available for him and tears a bloomed flower. Criticizer of a book should be such that it should be an article of literacy value, so that it becomes another reading material. A novel is the picture of the contemporary generations which is more transparent than the truth. A novel makes a man alert about the life. Number of libraries is one of the most important measuring stick of nation's culture. Libraries are the measuring sticks of a nation's civilization and development. A library is a home for relaxation of our hearts. Men take shelter here with a tired mind. The best expressions of human minds of ages are present here. A library bears the pictures of ages. Library is created with a view to accumulate all branches of knowledge and to protect it permanently. Great thinkers, wise and qualified people have written down their ideas, imaginations, thoughts, experience and functions in their books which they acquired through their long austerity and research. Libraries are the collections of all these books. A nation becomes cultured through literature. So the more libraries we shall establish, the more our nation will be benefited. We must read books, because practice of literature is impossible without reading books. Practice of religion can be done even out of the temples, philosophy can be practiced sitting in the dens, ethics can be practiced at home and science in the museums, but literature can be practiced in the libraries only. It cannot be practiced in a factory or in a zoo. I think a library is not less important than a hospital and is more important than schools and colleges. He who has a library in his home, is mentally too high. Music is the combination of melody and rhythm. It affects like electric current in a man's mind. It soothes a mind as soon as it heard. Music is the medicine for a broken heart. No other art can react a mind as music can. Music has a relation with the ethical characteristics of human being. Role of music is very clear in intellectual and mental development of a man. Life and music are interrelated. A man is encouraged to live by music. Music acts as a medicine for a suffering mind. Among all arts only music can be used in religious functions. When a sound is made louder and louder, it makes nothing but a noise, and when a sound is given melody and rhythm, it makes a music. Meanings of the greatest song are to find. You are a successful singer if your song gives somebody pleasure and if his sorrows are soothed by it. He who listens to music sitting in a lonely place, realizes it with his heart. A mother gets her naughty child slapped by music. A lover wins the mind of his beloved by music, and a lonely person forgets his loneliness by it. Music creates fire from the heart of a man and sheds tears from the eyes of a woman. A romantic music does not make an appeal all the time. Sometimes pathetic and encouraging music are also required. Music is a common language, appeal of which is the same to places, ages and persons. Music makes a man's loneliness delightful. Pleasure of music is incomparable. He who has a melody in his heart is unparalleled in exchanging love. Music is a universal language, which influences the minds of all mankind irrespective of place, time and object. Dance is a child of music and love. A picture is visible and a music is audible. A picture makes an unlimited theme into a limitation, and a music makes an unlimited theme into a wider one. A picture is an art of a visible beauty and a music is an art of an invisible beauty. Scholars say that art having 6 parts. Those are individual characteristics, showing examples, expression of emotions showing similarity with practical characters, and an attractive way of expression of opinions. Boys see a drama and forget it, but girls remember it. We do not want to face our practical life. The readers and the audience want to laugh, they want jokes and cheerfulness. They don't want a disaster or a conflict. They have no courage and wants. He who is living with distress at his home regularly, will why search out for another distress on a stage? A drama wants to create reliance to its audience. It does not deal with the truth but with the reactions. Great dramas encourage us to face it. A drama must produce something to think over. When we understand a drama very easily, we understand that its standard is not high. Precondition for a good film is a good story. An honest, creative and progressive film producer can use his film as a tool for social revolution. A conservative society could not traditionally create a great art. The world of arts and literature is the world of self-expression. So, it cannot come under any regulation. Arts and culture cannot be created by religion's sermons. Foundation of the modern art is not only an idea, but an analysis of conscience is also required for it. He who sees the whole world in a particle of sand and the heaven in a wild flower, can hold an unlimited space in his palm and eternity in an hour, is a pure artist. Every artist wets his brush by the paint within himself and expresses his nature in his picture. Firstly, every artist is to present himself as an amateur one. The aim of an art is to express itself and to hide the artist. At present many countries imports most of its artists. Exchange of arts is going on throughout. Art is a technique of making something permanent in human minds which is practically a temporary event. Art is nothing but a reflection of nature. Reality is not an art. Life is not a literature. Art is a nice expression of life but not a real picture. A lotus is not valued for the muddy place where it is born but for its blooming beauty. A glance on a picture can give an idea which 100 pages of a book can give. Artists present many ugly things which become a nice one to the viewers by the rotation of time. On the other hand, fashion creates some nice things which become ugly ones to the consumer at a later stage. Roles of literature and art are to enter into the hearts of people and to wear it up. We can feed our souls through practice of art and literature. Newspaper plays the role of a teacher for the common people. National aspirations and weals and woes are reflected by newspaper only. He is ignorant who has only heard about milk, he is wise who has drunk it, and he is a scientist who has become healthy after drinking it. Liking and disliking is important for literature. Truth and false is important in science. People of the present age cannot prosper by religion or politics, but they can attain it by science and technology. Nowadays, people cannot be benefited by anything more than by science. The more a man is distressed or poor, the more he needs the scientific theories. Science is no more a slave of the rich countries but the regulator of the lives of the whole mankind. Modern science has given mankind speed but has snatched away their emotions. There is a pleasure of movement in it but no relaxation of rest. Science is the classification of experience. Science is also the power of realization by sense organs. As physical exercise brings physical improvement, reading of books also develops us mentally.